So last week we were kind of in the middle of not doing anything. I was in the middle of watching or binge watching House, and you were in the middle of being obsessed with a game,
hmm Deadlock.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the end of the episode, we were talking about how the week after we were going to get it all together again and become super motivated and good again. And then we skipped that week, and now we're at this week. And well, I'm kind of curious where you're at and if you're still playing Deadlock a whole lot, or if you've kind of chilled out on that and got back into the swing of things.
So your advice to me was to kind of embrace the binge for a little while
Hmm.
and plan on coming out of it after a week or so. And I have to say that was excellent advice. I actually think that was very helpful to me. And in fact, the way I kind of viewed me playing the game and just sort of being on this binge shifted almost immediately when I started thinking that way. And it feels a bit like when I'm supposed to be working, I have something I need to do, and I open up YouTube and watch a YouTube video or do something like that that's sort of distracting or like put on a TV show. Oftentimes, like I want that because I just don't want to work and it's this emotional comfort. But if I'm actually being very focused at work and I decide not to have any distractions going, and then I say, okay, now it's time for a break. So I have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to watch whatever I want to watch guilt free. It totally changes the way I think about it. And a lot of the stuff that I was kind of craving before, I don't actually care that much about. I'm thinking I'd rather use my half hour of time to do something that I actually care about more. I just kind of feel totally different about what I'm doing. And being on the binge kind of felt like an escape from the stuff I felt guilty about not doing, or there's this like weird sort of I don't know, like it's a sort of a guilty pleasure. It's like it feels bad, and something about that is reinforcing and makes me like want to stay down that hole. And as soon as I just thought, okay, this is fine. I'm taking the week. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna play Deadlock all day. As soon as I started thinking that way, like I'll just do this for real, and then get back to it. I kind of lost a lot of the that desire to do it, and I still played, but a lot less. And I was actually really excited to kind of get back to a normal life. And then I got sick, and you got hit by a hurricane, and we wound up 2 weeks later. But still, I'm on a pretty good. Like I'm not there. I'm not doing well, but I'm excited to start doing well. If that makes sense.
Same for me. I tried to take my own advice and just enjoy the binge watching for the rest of the time. I had maybe 2 or 3 seasons left last time we talked, and boy, that's a lot of TV. That is, there's a lot of episodes in each season of House,
Oh yeah, it's
and
like 20 something, right? And then they're each
yeah,
45 minutes or so. Yeah, it's a ton
it
of TV.
it, it was a lot. So after a while, it kind of removed some of the thrill of staying up super late and just doing this thing. And then by the end, I mean, I loved the show, but by the end, I was thinking, okay, I don't want to watch another episode, but I guess I have to because I got to finish this. And so, yeah, so I am even after that, I've kind of continued because I just told myself, okay, wait for the next episode and then you'll
hmm
make your big change. And so I've kind of just been milling around, not really doing much at all. But
Yeah.
I'm in a, s- I'm ready to start being good again. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, all right, let's talk about that, but real quick. You did get hit by a hurricane and had no power for the past 5 days. How, just so everyone knows, including me, like, is everything fine? You're okay? No major issues?
yeah, fine. I'm in uh, Claremont, so it's like halfway between Tampa, which got hit really bad, and Orlando. It's kind of in between.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the worst of the hurricane. It really wasn't that bad. It's certainly the strongest one I've I can remember. Probably some stronger ones when we were kids, but it was pretty intense, but it wasn't that crazy. Uh, although when the winds first started picking up, I stayed, didn't evacuate or anything, boarded up the windows
Yeah.
and everything. But when the winds first started picking up, we were in this office, and right on the other side of the wall, you hear this crash, and we thought for sure a tree had just, hit the
Hmm.
roof or something. We run outside, and, wind's blowing like crazy, and the meter box, the like electrical box on the outside, uh, had been ripped off the wall because a tree fell on a power line
Oh,
there, or the power line that goes to my house. At first, I thought it was just our phone line that was there left over. Whatever. Anyway, I was
yeah.
wrong about that. It was like the personal power line that comes off of the telephone pole to my house into the meter box. A tree fell on that in our front yard, which pulled the box or like ripped the box and this giant cedar board plank on the side of my house just right off of it. And so weirdly, the power still worked until about 4 hours later when all the power in the neighborhood went off. And so that was, and we had some other trees fall down. Like there was this huge oak tree blocking the street, like right in front of my driveway. So that was fun. Um, but so I had to get an electrician out, reinstall the box, redo all that stuff. They cut up the tree and then wait like 3 days for the power company to come back, and all they had to do was just plug us right back in. Uh, but anyway, yeah, 4 or 5 days without power, but
Yeah.
everything's fine. Yeah,
Seems
finally fine.
it's almost kind of scary that your power didn't go off with the meter ripped off the wall. You'd think that's
Yeah,
kind of when you would want it off, but
yeah.
okay.
Nope.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well, glad you're alive. Glad you still have a house.
yeah,
It's always scary. I mean, I grew up in Florida too, so like pretty familiar with the hurricane scenario. And of course, if you take a direct hit on the coast, you're kind of hosed if the storm is powerful enough. But even when it's not that bad, it's always scary because you can always have a tree come through your roof, or you could always get hit by a tornado, which doesn't depend
yes.
on the storm being, you don't have to be in the eye wall to get hit by a tornado. So it's always a little
No,
worrisome.
this one was scary.
Yeah.
It was definitely scary, and you're watching it, and they're saying it's a Cat 5, it's gonna hit a Cat 5, and it's got a little weaker as
Yeah.
it got closer, but yeah, it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
That one of the sides of our yard, the privacy fence got pushed over.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, it's fine. I'm on a hill, so there wasn't any flooding or anything.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Glad you're okay. So, what's the plan for the next October, November, December, 3 months, 2.5 months?
okay, well, I have realized that I've picked up some really awful habits over the last couple months, maybe longer. Uh,
In the absence of the
I
podcast, I assume.
yeah,
Is this
this
what's holding our lives together? Because it kind of feels that way.
I think that might be it. So I've picked up Reddit,
Oh
just
no.
scrolling through
Have I
Reddit. I
not?
know I was so good about that for so long, and I would make fun of people who do that, but now I do that,
I
and it's
thought
become a bit of a
I
problem.
thought I would have been the cautionary tale. Like I still struggle with Reddit. I tell you all the time.
Well, yeah, I have nothing but shame.
Okay,
I would
good.
say I have no shame, but I have lots of shame. So Reddit's become a problem. Instagram was becoming a problem for a long time. Because I started posting on TikTok, even TikTok has been a bit of an issue. So, and your brain sort of filters it as, well, it's just research because you're going to be, making more of this stuff. So it's just research. And then, hours go by and you haven't learned a thing. So I have like Reddit, YouTube, Instagram, even TikTok. That's embarrassing. And all those things. And then, of course, with binging house, it's staying up super late, waking up very late, and also never talked about it, but my arm, I got some problems in my joint, and so I've been dealing with that, and that kind of threw a wrench into my whole
Mhm.
workout thing and health stuff, and so I've been dealing with that. and it's in a little bit of a better place now, so I feel like I can kind of know how to deal with it a little bit better. So I can't really use that as an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
But for a long
Can you
time,
lift, or are you not there yet?
some things, not
Okay.
all things. They said no bench press, stay away from deadlift for a while, and
Deadlift.
stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah. It's degenerative joint disorders. It's like osteoarthritis or something in my right shoulder. It's nothing crazy, but it has definitely uh,
Yeah.
messed me up a bit in routines and everything. So that's actually a really big factor of why I kind of fell off the rails. So the health side of things sort of tanked for a while, but I think I can kind of get back into stuff and it not be a problem. So yeah, that's kind of the list of my faults. What are yours?
Well, uh, I definitely still have some issues with being distracted by the internet things, and that sort of downplays it. Like, I have a problem with scrolling through Reddit and even YouTube and just kind of doing that where I just get sucked into stuff.
Oh,
Um,
one more I was going to say, which will probably be the same for you, is the news.
yeah,
There are some interesting things happening in the world right now, and so I've been kind of glued to the
yeah.
news to a unhealthy point. Uh,
That is actually what got me. Was I did really well for a very long time, like many months, close to a year even, where browsing Reddit was like a very occasional thing. I was really, in a very healthy way, checked out of the news cycle and all of that, and for the most part I was staying pretty focused with pretty minor adventures into distracting stuff. But then stuff just started to get really weird and interesting. And so there's a part of me that's like, oh, I gotta pay attention to what's going on. The United States has a pretty big election coming up and everything. And looking back at having paid attention for the past 3 or 4 months, I do not think that any of it was of any value to me whatsoever. The
or the
people,
rest of the world.
yes,
Yeah,
like there's no one anywhere is going to change who they're voting for at this point. It's just an outrage thing. I mean, it's been terrible. I wish that I had not done any of that. But that was like the way back in, where I'm like, well, I already watched the Daily Show today, and I already checked this news site. I should check Reddit to see what's happening. And
right.
it's okay. It's important. It's world events. It's me staying on top of what's happening, and that's just a lie that I'm telling myself, and I just get sucked in. So that has basically been the vehicle for me kind of embracing the brain rot for the past few months. So
Exactly. So I have made some vows, and they are going to be very hard to stick to.
yeah,
Uh, but just a couple simple ones. I will not watch TV by myself. That
wow,
means, if Heather wants to watch a movie or something, sure. But I cannot watch shows or movies by myself. That will keep me from binge watching, uh,
okay.
which is a shame because I
Well,
already have a list of a bunch of shows that I want to watch now. But
you just got to drag
that's
Heather down with you, is all.
I'm gonna try to stay away from dragging anybody else in, and just no TV by myself. It will remain unplugged.
Okay.
I will not visit Reddit under any circumstance. The only exception is through a link sent directly to me, and then only for that thing.
So,
So,
all right, but let's talk about this for a second, because
okay.
I've I'm an old pro at struggling with Reddit habit, and I have to say one of the reasons why it's so difficult is that for most other sites, it's relatively simple to kind of check out. Like, if you don't have a Facebook account, they don't let you into Facebook. You can't do anything. So I mean, that's them trying to make sure that everyone has a Facebook account, but it sort of works against them if you can get over that threshold of, once you delete it, you're like, oh, I can't visit Facebook. So that habit has to go away. But Reddit doesn't do that. Reddit is very happy to have you browse it as an anonymous user, and they're not trying to force you to sign in because, I don't know, you're still seeing ads and stuff. So it's tough to break the Reddit
Right.
thing because it's always right there. You can't nuke it. Like, there's no way out.
Should I remove the only exception?
Well, okay, here's my thought on that. The problem that I've had is that it's been extremely binary for me, where it's like, no, I swear I'm never visiting Reddit again for the rest of my life. And then I'll be, searching for the solution to some software problem or whatever, and then something comes up on Reddit where it's like, no, the thing that I need really is there. There actually is a lot of really good information on Reddit. I mean, it's sort of a smaller and smaller percentage by the day, but every now and then it's like I kind of do need to visit Reddit. So trying to figure out how to handle that with that really binary thinking, you're like, oh, I need it. So you start looking at Reddit, and then it's 3 hours, and now you're in, disaster land, and you're like back on the Reddit wagon. So having some way, my solution, which I'm very fortunate in that I happen to be somebody who has some technological aptitude with this sort of thing. So my solution was to create a Reddit block for all of my devices on my router, and then the only device of mine that can visit it, like this doesn't interfere with Sam or anybody else in the house, but for me, the only device of mine that can visit Reddit is the laptop in the basement. So if I really need to, I can go walk downstairs and access
Yeah.
whatever I want on the basement laptop, and then that hardly ever happens. But that's kind of the escape valve, because that is not habit forming, like walking down a flight of stairs. So
Well, I have one of those browser blocker things for Reddit, Instagram, and YouTube
yeah,
uh, on my computer, but I'm hardly even using this computer anymore.
right.
Um, but yeah, okay. Well, the goal is rest of the year don't use
Okay.
Reddit.
Well,
I'll
just
probably slip up a few times, but
yeah, and you might be fine, but one potential option would be to, like, I don't know, maybe you have an old phone or something that you don't carry. It like lives in a drawer. You could make a rule like I can visit Reddit on that phone, but the phone has to stay plugged into the wall. So you can go do it, but you're not going to stand there hunched over your dresser for 3 hours scrolling Reddit. Like that, it has
yeah.
boundaries, but you can access it for stuff you need. Anyway, that's just something to throw out there. That's kind of what I've settled on as the best approach for me.
I think after a week or two, it won't be so hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want any more Reddit, and then I will not visit Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. Same thing. Um,
I assume
and
you've deleted the apps off your phone and whatnot.
yeah.
Okay.
All deleted, all gone in preparation for this. And then this one, I'm making one exception for. I will not read the news for the rest of the year, except for on election day, or
Yeah, right.
emergencies. If there's another hurricane, obviously I'm gonna
Yeah.
check that. But otherwise, no news, which is kind of a shame because it's toxically entertaining,
Yeah, but it's
but it doesn't do anything. People talk all the time about, oh, it's important to stay educated or stay up to date on current
no, it's
events and
not. That's
everything.
a
It's
lie. Yeah.
like it makes you feel better. It makes you really angry all the time, but unless you're actually going to do something about it,
I mean, and
maybe it's
and
not all that great.
no one even means that. Like, if you actually wanted to be educated on something, like I was thinking back to the COVID pandemic and how much time myself and obviously many other people spent worrying about it and constantly refreshing the news, and especially early on when it was pretty scary. uh it just, the amount of time and mental effort spent worrying and paying attention was so high, and I look back and think I don't think I learned anything. Like I'm not an expert on virology or even just the nature of pandemics. I could have checked out a bunch of textbooks from the library and like really gotten up to speed on all the latest stuff, but I didn't. If you really want to learn stuff, you can go learn stuff. That's not what happens when you watch news sites all day.
Well, one of the predictable side effects of having no power was that thing. It felt well. One thing was that I wasn't at work for a few days, so that was kind of wonderful.
Right.
But time just slows down,
Mm-hmm.
and every room and everywhere you walk is has cohesive lighting, which is a strange thing to point out, but I mean, it's daytime outside, and then you go in the house, it gets a little darker, and you go to some corners of the house, like this
Mm-hmm.
office, completely black. I mean, I had the windows boarded up too, but it's as soon as you walk into the room, you can't see a thing, and and then you go outside, and it feels like daytime again. There's no artificial light anywhere except a couple candles when it gets dark or whatever, and it just feels so natural, and it's so quiet. There's no TV going. There's no one's phone is playing anything. It's just quiet and so peaceful. One of the things was that the weather was really nice after the hurricane, which is hardly ever the case in Florida. It's
Yeah.
always hot as hell outside, but it was actually really nice for a few days. And you would go in the backyard and you just feel the breeze, and it's so quiet, except for chainsaws and everyone else's.
Right.
Yeah, but you realize, oh yeah, there's this whole world out there. It's not it's not invading my brain and trying to take over with
Yeah.
you know
It's kind of a
toxic
it's kind of a
impending doom.
scary thought. I remember reading Catch 22. If you ever read that, sometimes they make you read in high school.
I don't know.
Okay, it's a great book. I think it holds up. I don't know. It's been a long time. But in the book, there's this character who's kind of a weirdo, and his whole approach to life is that he wants to be as bored as he possibly can 24/7. He doesn't want excitement, doesn't want anything. His goal is to be bored. And his logic is that time slows down when you're bored. And so the way to maximize your lifespan, like live the longest life, is to be bored all the time. Because if you're not, then you're just zipping right through life. And even though it's just kind of a silly thing in the book, it's stuck with me ever since. I mean, it's been probably decades since I read it. And I think about that with a lot of these things, like just being distracted all the time. It feels a little bit like you're kind of fast forwarding through your life, and that sucks. I mean, just being bored, the feeling is so different. Like you just feel
Well,
a lot more present and time slows down.
through all of this weird, no power, and also kind of binging things beforehand and afterwards, whatever. It's how people say it, like heroin addicts. Once once you've uh, had some experiences with something like heroin, just simple life is no longer
Mm-hmm.
appealing.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get all depressing or whatever, but it's like once you've had that thing, nothing else really seems to do it for you.
Yeah.
You don't really care about anything else. And not that I've been doing heroin the last week, but I have been, binging a lot of stuff and, you know, read it for way too
Yeah.
long. And I mean, we all know this stuff, but I've just realized, I mean, it's not just one little problem. This stuff has been popping up all over
Mm-hmm.
my my day for a while now, for a couple months or whatever, and it has killed my drive to do anything else.
Yep.
Not like not like we all don't know this, but I've just been observing that. Like, oh yeah, I don't even care that I'm not doing anything. I don't care that I'm not motivated or ambitious right now. I don't really care about anything.
Yeah.
I'll just let me just go get upset about something on the internet. It's
Yeah.
so I'm really hoping cutting all this stuff out kind of makes me feel stuff again.
I think it so it will, because
I
I
know.
mean,
I've been here
right. We
before.
yeah, we both know
Yeah.
this, but a quick thought. You know how people say that there's three types of fun? There's, the type 1 fun, which is like fun in the moment. Like you're at a party, you're having a good time, you're talking to people, like it's fun. Looking back on it, you're like, cool, that was fun. I had fun. That's type 1 fun. Type 2 fun is like it's really hard and it's not fun in the moment, but then afterwards looking back, like running a race or doing like a really hard thing, the tough mudder or whatever, that kind of thing. Like it's hard, you're not really enjoying it, but looking back you're like, oh cool, I did that, I feel accomplished, I'm really glad that I did that. So that's type 2 fun. Type 3 fun is like it's not fun at all, you're miserable afterwards, you still hate it, which is like a weird thing to throw into the categories of fun, is just not fun, but that's apparently three. But I think there is a missing fourth category, or maybe it's like type negative one, where it feels fun at the time, but then looking back, you're like, oh, I feel terrible. That wasn't fun. And I think all of these things fit into type negative one fun, where you want to
Hmm.
do it, you have a compulsion to do it, but then after you're done binging on TikTok for an hour or two, you look back and you're like, I feel gross. I feel worse. Like, I'm worse off than I was before. So
Yes.
I'm gonna tack that on as type negative one fun. And it has this amazing property of making you unsatisfied doing type one or two fun. Like it just it sucks all of the oxygen out of the fun space, and you just can't be happy doing anything else until you throttle down. Anyway, this is well tread territory for us. What's the rest of your plan? You said you took vows, no Reddit, um, TV's unplugged, only
Yeah.
watch with people. You know, what's the rest of the
Okay. Yeah.
prescription?
So why say no to this stuff? What's the point? Well, I've talked to you about this. I've been talking about this for a little while. Uh, Back to me being an artist and not a lazy TV binging person. Um, I've been doing for the last what year and a half, 2 years. I've been doing paintings. It's kind of my thing. Working on a painting, I finish that, and then I do another painting. Well, I don't want to get too into it, but basically, I think I'd done 3 or 4 paintings. Kind of liked the first one, and then I felt like they just sort of got worse. I started trying different things, and I don't think I've really gotten it to work. Whatever. So I decided to try. I want to try something different. I've always kind of latched onto paintings because they're a. I know how to start. I know when they're finished, and then when you're done, they're a specific like product. This is a finished thing. So there's a start and end point, and I've always just kind of gone to paintings. I was like, what if I did something a little bit different? And so I started and thinking about like kind of building, more stories and characters and stuff like that for my stuff. Not to get into it, but like, what if I made a little book, like a locally printed, limited run of sketches? What if I just did a bunch of sketches and explored a bunch of different ideas, didn't get tied down to anything real quick or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and I just focused on, pencil sketches and did a bunch of drawings. And so I did actually kind of crush the first phase of that, which I did like 50 thumbnails of different ideas I want to explore. And that was quite a feat for me. I'm proud of that. Uh, and then it came time for the next phase, and a bunch of stuff happened, and I just totally lost it. And I have kind of hardly touched it since then. But the plan is to make a sketchbook, a little locally printed, limited run sketchbook of sketches.
The
And
kind of
I'm
thing that
really,
somebody could order and own, this sketchbook,
yes,
coffee table book sort of thing, right?
yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be anything extravagant. I've seen a lot of other artists do this type of thing, a little paperback or whatever.
Yeah.
It's small, nothing crazy, just sketches.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea, and I think it would be cool. So my next goal will be this, and I'm saying it here, so I will make myself do it. 'Cause currently, I haven't been doing it, but typically when I say it on the podcast, I end up finishing it. So
Yeah.
that's my hope with this. Um, so that's what I'll
Okay.
be focusing on.
That's good. So you've established some rules and vows, as you called them. Like, you have this framework, but it's there for a reason. Like, you're not just trying to cut out shows
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Reddit. Like, this is the thing that's trying to be accomplished. Okay.
Yeah, I don't just want to torture myself. This is a thing I want to do, and
Yeah.
currently the way I'm living is not allowing me to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm hoping to get back into, going to bed at a decent time, going for runs or working out and eating better or eating at all. And yeah, I want to be more proud of myself and less type negative one fun.
We don't have to necessarily throw this out today, but is there a specific concrete measurable goal that could maybe happen by, let's say, the end of the year?
By the end of the year, I don't think I'll have I won't be able to finish by the end of the year. But the plan, and it's right there on my whiteboard. I can't read, but it was to do 50 thumbnails, and then out of those 50, pick like 30 of those that I like, explore the ideas for those, and include them all. So I think the book, because I've talked to some people about it, it'll probably be about 26 pages,
Okay.
uh, 26 to 30 or something like that. Um, but there's a lot of questions I have about it. But I know people that can print these books. I know
Mhm.
people that can help me put it together. So it's a doable thing.
Yeah.
I just have to, do the work for it. By the end of the year,
Well, it
I
doesn't have to be the whole thing, just whatever makes sense. But I did really like the way that having a very concrete deadline for the past cycle that we did just made it very it's just concrete. Like you knew what you were trying to do by a certain date. So if it's
yeah,
half the book is done, or you have the thumbnails rendered as sketches, or I don't know, whatever makes sense. But and I
yeah.
don't really have that for myself either, but it might be something to think about because I do really like the honesty of having a real milestone that you have to
All
hit.
right. That's a great idea. I'll come up with something for next week.
Okay.
That's a good idea. What about you?
Well, all right, I'll run through it real quick. It's not going to be too different. The thinking is the same. I have specific goals that I want to accomplish, and when I am in Waluigi mode, we'll call it. Uh, it's not just that I can't, it's that I don't want to and I don't care, and I'm incapable of sitting down quietly working on something for extended periods of time. It's just a mess. So like that's the why, right? So my I don't have a very specific goal to throw out there, but I know that I want to get some major features done on the nutrition tracking app that I published a few weeks ago, and I want to launch another app by the end of the year. I'm not sure if
Sweet.
it's going to be the spaced repetition app, or I've actually started working on a e-reader app, which is sort of an odd thing, but I have some ideas around that, and it's been kind of a fun project to like be reading ebooks in this app that I'm working on. So anyway, uh, one of those things by the end of the year. So my plan is I'll read you the stuff that I have written down. It's pretty straightforward. Number one, I have to be up with an alarm. I don't necessarily have a set time for that. I would like it to be around 7 or 7:15, but really I just want to focus on getting up at a premeditated intentional time where the alarm goes off and I get out of bed. I've just
Yeah.
started to realize how much I hate starting a day with no intention, where I'm just laying around until I feel sick of laying around, and then I get up, and then it's like, okay, what do I do today? Like, it just sucks. Like, and I can't have that. So, rule number one, getting up on time. Um, this is kind of health related, but another like high priority that I have is that I want to prepare food for myself the day before and try and eat early, like when I wake up, which is usually not what I want to do. Usually I'll just wake up, get going, drink coffee, and then I'll sort of force myself to eat. Sometimes by afternoon, almost dinner time even. Like I'm pretty happy to just eat nothing until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And I don't mind doing that, but it means that I wind up eating a lot at night and then I don't sleep well and then it kind of throws off the whole cycle. So it's gonna take a little bit of planning and intention. But as soon as we're done recording this, I'm gonna go prepare some overnight oats for myself tomorrow morning. So I want to like have that in place as well. Um, Number three, on the dog walk that I do in the morning, I want to bring the voice recorder or even just use my phone if I need to and talk audibly into the recorder about one what the plan is for the day when I start. Like what do I want to accomplish and does it make sense? Does it fit in with the goals or am I on some tangent that I'm just sucked into? Like I want to do some cognizant thinking on the dog walk, and I like doing it then. Like while I'm walking feels like a really nice time to think and plan. And then the other thing is that I want to do a little bit of a sort of a check-in, like an audible recorded check-in of, okay, are all the habits that I care about, are those happening? If not, then why? And that sort of thing. So that happens on the dog walk. Um, then it's work. I want to try very hard to hit at least 8 clean pomodoros every day, and that's only 4 hours of work, and I'd be obviously working a lot more than that, but I want to at least make sure that I'm being intentional and focused enough to be paying attention to a timer and intentionally working and taking breaks and not mixing stuff in. So I'm not going to try and make sure every second is constrained by a Pomodoro timer, but I want at least 2 solid work cycles to be Pomodoro based. So like I consider a 2 hour block like a solid work cycle. So I'm going to really try and prioritize that. Um, I am going to try to be done eating by 6 p.m. Same thing. It's kind of painful to try and be done eating by then, but I really seem to sleep better when I finish eating that early, so I'm going to try and do that. Um, I am not allowed to work past 8. And I can stop earlier. I obviously, if I'm stopping work very early in the day, then something's wrong and I'm being very distracted. But I like the goal is kind of to work until probably 5 or 6, but I can go as late as 8, but I can't go after. And then I want my evenings, like everything past whatever the work stop time is, to be more focused on absorbing information than like outputting things. So I want to read
Yeah.
books, kind of take that time to just, if I want to learn something, if there's some, design book that I want to read, I can do that or whatever, but it's just like a much more relaxed absorption time, not producing time. Uh I have a whole bunch of kind of software based solutions in place to try and keep myself sane. And we've talked about this a couple times in the past. Like my desktop environment is set up to where I only have one screen, and every window that I open like intrudes on the space of the screen. Like there's no notion of like stacking windows. So I can
Right.
only really have a couple things open at a time before I it all becomes unwieldy. I've described some of these things before, but uh, the important thing that I'm committing to is that I want to keep all of those rules in place. Like it's easy enough for me to kind of use not that system to where I can just open whatever I want, and I can log into my router and disable the Reddit block, and then I can view Reddit on anything I want to. I have a pretty strict rule for myself that I can't have a browser installed on my phone. That's a key rule that I am going to enforce, very strongly. So I have all these different things set up to where there's limits in place for how abusive these things can be, or how much time I spend, or how not how much time, how easy it is to access these things that are problematic for me. And I'm committing to keeping all of those rules in place. Like if I decide at midnight that I just can't handle it and I want to scroll Reddit for 3 hours, well, I have to go down into the basement and do it. And like that can happen. It probably won't, but it can. But I cannot disable it on the router and install a browser on my phone and let myself sit there and scroll around in bed. Like that just can't happen. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. I think with those things in place, I think I can be in a good spot and do some good work again.
Okay. Well, let's go forth and be cool people again. And next episode, we better be really proud of ourselves.
Yeah, we have
Talk
a,
about all.
a week to see if it works. And
Yeah.
just like you were saying last time that it's time to binge and not worry about it, uh that time is over, and it is time to get our
Officially.
shit together
Yeah.
now, not next week. So
Yeah. Yeah. After we hang up, I will have no vices.
I'm
Okay.
same, I guess.
I'll go read a boring book or something.
Yeah.